Why do you always fall for the ones who don't want you back? Why does mutual love sometimes feel boring? Freud mapped this pattern 120 years ago, and it's still happening in your DMIs today. Think about it. How many times have you chased someone who was clearly not that interested? How many times have you lost interest the moment someone became too available? You're not broken. You're not unlucky. According to Freud, you're just human. Here's what Freud discovered. We learn how to love in childhood, and we never really stop using that same template. Your first love relationships, they weren't romantic. They were with your parents or caregivers. And here's the thing, those early relationships were complicated. You desperately wanted their attention, their approval, their love, but you couldn't have them completely. They had their own lives, their own problems, their own limitations. So what did your little brain learn? That love means wanting what you can't fully have. This is what Freud called the Oedipal Complex, not just about wanting to marry your parent, but about learning that love involves desire, competition, and longing for something just out of reach. Think about a 3-year-old who wants mummy's attention, but mummy is tired, stressed, or dealing with work. The child learns that love involves waiting, hoping, and sometimes being disappointed. But they also learn that the moments when they do get that attention feel incredibly precious because they're rare. Your adult brain still operates on this same software. Fast forward to your dating life. Sound familiar? You meet someone who's interested, available, texting you back quickly, and suddenly they feel too easy. Your unconscious mind is literally thinking, if they want me this much, they can't be that valuable. But then you meet someone who's distant, mysterious, maybe even a little cruel. Someone who leaves you unread, who's hot and cold, who makes you wonder where you stand. And suddenly, you're hooked. Freud would say, your unconscious just found something familiar. It found the love pattern you learned as a child. This is why dating apps are so addictive but so unsatisfying. The whole system is built on scarcity, on the idea that there's always someone better just a swipe away. It triggers that childhood pattern of wanting what you can't have. Now, Freud identified 2 types of love, and understanding this difference is crucial. Narcissistic love. This is when you fall in love with someone because they reflect something you want to see in yourself. Maybe they're successful, attractive, popular, and being with them makes you feel successful, attractive, popular. Object love. This is when you love someone for who they actually are, not for what they do for your self-image. Here's the problem. Most of us start with narcissistic love. We choose partners who make us feel good about ourselves, who fill some gap in our self-esteem. But narcissistic love is fragile. The moment that person stops making you feel special, the love disappears. Have you ever noticed how you can be completely obsessed with someone, and then the moment they start liking you back, you lose interest? That's narcissistic love. You weren't actually in love with them. You were in love with the challenge, with the fantasy, with what winning them over would say about you. So why do some people keep ending up in toxic relationships? Freud would say it's because your unconscious is trying to resolve an old childhood wound. If you had a parent who was unpredictable, sometimes loving, sometimes rejecting, your brain learned that love equals drama. Your unconscious thinks, if I can just get this unavailable person to love me, I'll finally prove I'm worthy of love. But here's the trap. You're not actually trying to get love from this person. You're trying to get love from your unavailable parent through this person. It's like trying to heal a broken arm by breaking the other arm. This is why people stay in relationships where they're constantly trying to earn love, constantly walking on eggshells, constantly trying to prove their worth. It feels familiar. It feels like the love they learned in childhood. Freud noticed something fascinating. We don't just repeat patterns randomly. We repeat them compulsively, almost like we're trying to master them. Have you ever looked at your dating history and thought, why do I keep attracting the same type of person? You're not attracting them, you're choosing them. Your unconscious is like a moth to a flame, drawn to the same type of unavailable, complicated, or emotionally distant person over and over again. But why? Because your unconscious believes that if you can just get this person to love you differently than your parent did, you'll finally heal that original wound. It's like your psyche is saying, maybe this time will be different. Maybe this time, I'll be enough. Here's something Freud understood that we often forget. We're not usually in love with the person. We're in love with our fantasy of the person. Think about your last crush. How much of your feelings were based on who they actually were, and how much were based on your imagination of who they could be? We fall in love with potential. We fall in love with the story we tell ourselves about what this relationship could become. This is why texting someone new feels so exciting. There's so much room for fantasy. But real relationships involve morning breath, bad moods, and boring conversations about who's going to buy groceries. Your unconscious prefers the fantasy because fantasies don't disappoint you. Real people do. But here's the deeper truth Freud uncovered. Most of us are terrified of actual intimacy. Intimacy means being truly seen, truly known, truly accepted for who you are, including your flaws, your insecurities, your weird habits. And that's terrifying. It's much safer to love someone who doesn't love you back, because then you never have to risk being truly vulnerable. When someone is unavailable, you can love them from a safe distance. You can project all your hopes and dreams onto them without ever having to deal with the messy reality of being truly known by another person. Think about it. How many times have you sabotaged a relationship the moment it started getting real? So how do you break free from this cycle? First, you have to recognize it. Start paying attention to your patterns. Do you lose interest when someone shows genuine interest? Do you get more excited about people who are hard to pin down? Freud would say, your unconscious is trying to tell you something. Listen to it. Second, you have to do the work of understanding your childhood love template. What did love look like in your family? Was it conditional? Was it unpredictable? Was it based on performance? Remember, you're not trying to blame your parents. You're trying to understand the software that's running your love life. Third, you have to practice tolerating boring, stable, available love. I know that sounds terrible, but hear me out. What if the person who texts you back quickly isn't too available? What if they're just ... healthy? Freud believed we could learn to love differently, but it takes work. Healthy love isn't about finding your other half or completing each other. It's about two whole people choosing to build something together. Healthy love is choosing someone consistently, not just when you're feeling the high of the chase, being attracted to someone's character, not just their unavailability, feeling secure, not constantly anxious about where you stand, being able to be yourself, not performing to earn love. But here's what Freud understood. Healthy love can feel boring at first. If you're used to drama, your nervous system might interpret stability as lack of passion. That's not because stable love is boring. It's because your system is addicted to the stress chemicals of unstable love. Real love, according to Freud, is not a feeling. It's a practice. It's choosing to see someone clearly, not through the lens of your projections and fantasies. It's choosing to stay present when things get difficult, instead of running away or creating drama. It's learning to tolerate being truly known by another person. This doesn't mean settling for someone you're not attracted to. It means learning to be attracted to emotional availability, to consistency, to someone who can handle your real self. So why do you suffer for love? Because your unconscious is still running on childhood software. You're not broken. You're not doomed to repeat these patterns forever. But you do have to do the work of understanding why you love the way you love. Freud would probably say, your love life is trying to tell you something about yourself. Are you listening? The next time you find yourself obsessing over someone who doesn't text back, ask yourself, what am I really looking for here? What am I trying to prove? What wound am I trying to heal? Because until you understand what your unconscious is seeking, you'll keep looking for love in all the wrong places. And remember, the goal isn't to never get hurt. The goal is to love consciously, to choose people who can actually love you back, and to build relationships based on reality, not fantasy. Your unconscious might prefer the drama, but your conscious self deserves real love.